Alright, what's going on, guys? We are 3 days away from when we think we're going to get the Elden Ring DLC trailer. The rumor mills are churning, supposed leaks are starting to come out, and overall hype is at a maximum. Now, that can be a bit of a dangerous thing, as the vast majority of leaks and rumors turn out to be false. But nevertheless, you guys know I like to cover them here on the channel. And we got a lot to talk about today. We're going to talk about the likelihood of Elden Ring DLC at the Game Awards, a few leaks and rumors about what might be there pertaining to FromSoftware, a new interview with Miyazaki where he says some very interesting things. But as always, before we get into that today, do me a favor and hit that subscribe button. I will be streaming the Game Awards on Thursday right here on the channel, and if we do get information about Elden Ring DLC, I will be keeping you guys up to speed on that. So now let's talk about the Game Awards. I'm sure we're all familiar with how the Game Awards work, but in the off chance that you're not, let me fill you in real quick. The Game Awards are an annual show held in December that honor all of the games we've gotten throughout the year. They're hosted by Jeff Keighley and hand out a plethora of awards, with the most prestigious being Game of the Year. And of course, the star of this year's show is going to be Elden Ring. Elden Ring was nominated for a ton of awards this year and is expected to win Game of the Year, with the major competition being God of War Ragnarok. Now, that's cool and all, but the reason we're so focused on the Game Awards this year is because it's the #1 stage for new game announcements, and we're all expecting Elden Ring DLC to be one of those, with the key word there being expecting, because at the moment we don't know for sure. But let me give you the grounds of evidence we have for our hype. The absolute best evidence we have so far are data mined files from patch 1.07 that have several things that are not yet in the game and are labeled DLC 01. If you want the specifics on that, I've made several videos about it, but adding that to several quotes from both Miyazaki and Yasuhiro Kitao saying that they have a lot more plans for Elden Ring, that reasonably confirms that DLC is going to happen at some point. But why do we think it's going to be announced at the Game Awards? Well, we need to look at the history of FromSoftware announcements at Jeff Keighley's shows. Elden Ring's main announcement trailer, after the 2019 trailer and the long hiatus, was at Summer Games Fest in 2021. Jeff Keighley stated that FromSoftware reached out to him because they believed in the work that he was doing and wanted him to showcase their trailer. And then at the end of that year at the Game Awards, we got the Elden Ring story trailer. Now, there was Summer Games Fest this year, which was also hosted by Jeff Keighley. FromSoftware did not make an appearance there. However, it was only a few months after Elden Ring's release, so it makes sense why they wouldn't have anything new to show at that time. But now we've reached a time where it would make sense for them to have something. We're now roughly 10 months from release, and usually FromSoftware DLCs tend to release around the 8th month mark. So for them to at least have a trailer ready, there's been more than enough time. But the biggest selling point to me is that Elden Ring is guaranteed to at least win a few of the awards this year. So a DLC trailer would be more than relevant to showcase after letting Miyazaki and the team receive some of those awards, especially if it wins Game of the Year. I can totally see Elden Ring winning Game of the Year, Miyazaki and the team giving their speech of thanks, and then saying, here's even more of this game for you to enjoy. Honestly, I think that's exactly what's going to happen. But unfortunately, there is a chance that that doesn't happen. Jeff Keighley stated a few days ago that the Game Awards this year are going to be significantly shorter and feature less major announcements, which does have some people kind of worried. However, personally, I do like to hear that, because if I'm being honest, the last few years have been terrible except for the very end. They've been getting notorious for having a lot of games that nobody cares about, celebrity shows and concerts that have nothing to do with games at all. So if that means they're cutting out the fluff from the show, then I'm all for it. But aside from Elden Ring DLC, there are a lot of other possibilities that we could see from FromSoftware. And there's been a rumor going around recently that we're going to dive into. This rumor suggests that a Sekiro 2 is going to be announced at the Game Awards. And unsurprisingly, this comes from 4chan. Now here's my deal with 4chan. The problem with analyzing a leak that comes from 4chan is that we have no way to validify it. Since the original poster is anonymous, this can quite literally be anyone saying anything, and we can't tell the difference. But with that being said, every one of FromSoftware's games has leaked on 4chan originally. So we're still going to look at it, but of course take it with a grain of salt. The post says Sekiro 2 will be announced at the Game Awards, coming to PS4, PS5, Xbox's PC. It's big, but not an open world like Elden Ring. And that's it, that's the leak. They really don't give us a whole lot to work with. The comments under this post didn't really take it very seriously. They said, why should I believe you? To which the poster said, I mean, you don't have to, but the Game Awards are so close, so you'll see soon enough. And I mean, fair point, they're showing some confidence here. But this was enough to get some attention. Sekiro 2 was trending over on Twitter, and several gaming outlets reported on this. So I think it's fair to at least explore the idea. Sekiro released back in 2019 and was Game of the Year at that year's Game Awards. So for it to make a comeback on the same stage that it won prior, I think would be pretty likely. DLC. Now you guys might also remember that earlier this year, Activision, who were the publishers of Sekiro, sponsored Zully the Witch to make videos about the game 3 years after its release. And this rightfully raised some eyebrows. Why would Activision bother marketing a game that's 3 years old when they've got so many other games active and under their umbrella? Well, it could be a sign that more of Sekiro is on the way. And while I do think it's possible, what I think is far more likely is that since they still hold the Sekiro IP, they were just trying to cash in on all the Elden Ring hype, and using Zully's channel as a platform for the marketing would be going straight to their target market. Now trust me, if a Sekiro 2 were to happen, I would be over the moon. Sekiro's in my top 3 games of all time, and if you did the secret ending, then you know that it's set up for a sequel very well. But with that said, I just don't think it's really gonna happen. They would have had to start development on a sequel right when the game released, and we know that FromSoftware is working to become their own publisher, so for them to go back to an IP that they don't own doesn't really fit too well on their current timeline. We do know that FromSoftware's next game is in the final stages of development, but pretty much all signs point to that game being Armored Core. I think an Armored Core being announced over a Sekiro 2 is much more likely, because we have direct quotes from Miyazaki stating that they've been working on an Armored Core, and decently credible leaks to go along with it, but when it comes to Sekiro, we just don't have the same level of evidence. But in general, the possibility that we get another FromSoftware game announced there alongside Elden Ring DLC could very well happen. When it comes to the way FromSoftware typically works, everything is poised for us to have a major release from them early next year. And whether that's Elden Ring DLC, Sekiro 2, or Armored Core, the Game Awards are a perfect place to announce it. Now for the final part of this video, I want to talk about a recent interview with Miyazaki, where he describes his perception on Elden Ring's success, and addresses a lot of the criticisms coming at the game from new players. Over the weekend, Miyazaki accepted an award for Elden Ring from the PlayStation Partner Awards, where they won the Grand Award for the Asia region. A Q&A session was held during the show where Miyazaki was asked about the runaway success of Elden Ring, and his take was that, honestly, I haven't analyzed it much. It's true that sales were higher than those of our previous games, but I have no idea what the reason was. So even if I wanted to reproduce that success, I wouldn't be able to. He said that he intends to continue making games the same way as before without allowing himself to be affected by the success of Elden Ring. I try not to think about it too much because I think it would be a bad idea to analyze it and deeply consciously try to replicate it in another game. And I think that really speaks to the integrity of FromSoftware. The fact that they don't care that much, that they've just produced the best game in their entire repertoire, and all they care about going forward is just making games that they want to make. I feel like if every developer had that mindset, gaming would be a whole lot better than it is right now. And I think that right there is what contributed to Elden Ring's success. You can tell that it was made with passion. It wasn't made as a product, it was made as an adventure. And I really look forward to the games that are going to come out after this. But when asked about the criticisms of Elden Ring, Miyazaki had this to say: "I can't possibly listen to every single comment from our players, and if I only take on selected pieces of feedback, it might affect my future decisions as a developer, which I find rather unsettling. I know that I personally could not be fully objective, so I try to avoid being directly exposed to too many opinions." And once again, it's just a perfect example of Miyazaki's integrity. They know exactly what they want to make, and they're not going to let any outside forces dictate that. So when they're continuously putting out some of the best games of all time, I think that's a really great thing. Anyways though guys, that's going to pretty much do it for the video today. I hope you enjoyed. Remember, I will be streaming the Game Awards on Thursday, and no matter what happens there, I'm going to be keeping you guys up to date, so make sure you're subscribed to the channel. Be sure to leave a like on the video and let me know your thoughts down in the comments section below, and with all that, I'll catch you in the next one.